I'm guessing that you haven't kept up with Beto's plan and are living in fear that he's coming for your guns instead of working for better gun control. Well, let's see what Beto's meticulously detailed plans for the buyback are and what his record has been. But first, let's ask this question. Has anybody in an office higher than the Texas state governor tried to have a bipartisan discussion about gun control? Well, let's see.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give it a lot of consideration, and I'm the one bringing it up, and a lot of people don't even want to bring it up because they're afraid to bring it up. But you can't buy a handgun at 18, 19, or 20. You have to wait till you're 21, but you can buy the gun, the weapon used in this horrible shooting at 18. You are going to decide. The people in this room pretty much are going to decide. But that doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. It doesn't make sense that I have to wait till I'm 21 to get a handgun, but I can get this weapon at 18. I don't know.
Let's go to Beto now. We're talking about a guy who can't even decide if he's going to run for president or not.
Congressman, can you say definitively that no matter what happens tomorrow, you will not be a candidate for president in 2020?
Nope.
I will not be a candidate for president in 2020.
Thanks.
That's, I think, as definitive as those sentences get.
Yep, that's about as definitive as it gets.
I was surprised at how definitively he answered that question.
So was I.
What are your thoughts on running for president?
I don't want to do it. I will not do it.
And remember what Biden used to say when he was on the campaign trail about open borders? And then when he got elected, his administration was like, oh no, we need to close the borders. We got too many issues down there. Beto O'Rourke has done the same double speak flip-flop. He's not quite sure where he stands on open borders, even according to those who support him. They're like, oh, no, he doesn't stand for open borders. Yes, previously he's called for open borders and the tearing down of the wall. Where does he stand on this issue? What are his detailed plans? Stop being a politician fanboy. Okay, a key thing here to understand is this is what his stance was when he said he wasn't going to run for president.
Some on this stage have suggested a voluntary buyback for guns in this country.
Voluntary buyback.
You said, quote, Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government, all of them. You know, the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
Mandatory buyback.
I am. If it's a weapon that was designed to kill people, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore. In 2020, during an interview with CBS, he admitted that a buyback would mean that if you didn't sell your guns back to the government, they would take them from you and then fine you. To pass mandatory buybacks, and I'm able to sign that into law, then I fully expect our fellow Americans to turn in their AR-15s and their AK-47s. For anyone who does not and is caught in possession or seen in possession of one of these weapons of war, one of these instruments of terror, that weapon will be taken from them and they will be fined. I made a video where I told y'all Beto will say anything he thinks he needs to say to become governor of Texas on November 8th. And that he very much still wants to take people's guns because he just said he would and wanted to less than a year ago. When I said this, however, I had a number of comments and messages from people saying, people can change their beliefs on something in less than a year. And technically, this is true. But we're not talking about Sally, who is a mother of two and works at the HR department of Hobby Lobby. This is Beto, a man whose father gave him a fake Mexican nickname so that when he ran for office in El Paso, people would think he was a Mexican. And now, 3 weeks after saying this, I'm not interested in taking anything from anyone. He said this during an interview with the Texas Tribune.
Could you clarify this once and for all? Do you want to confiscate guns from people in Texas or not?
I do not believe that any civilian should have an AR-15 or an AK-47.
Thank you for the longer answer, but I'm going to come back to the question I asked you, which you didn't tell me. Do you want to confiscate those automatic weapons, the AR-15s, the AK-47s? Do you want to confiscate them or not?
Yeah, I gave you an answer. So I don't think anyone should have one. And if I can find the consensus within the legislature to have a law in the state of Texas that allows us to buy those AK-47s and AR-15s back, we will. Look.
Let's get to a summary synopsis or conclusion here. Let me go through some points. Beto had weak to moderate leadership ratings while a representative, and he voted more moderate or bipartisan than most people think. Research his attendance, voting, leadership ratings, everything else at congress.org or others. Keep in mind, he hasn't been in any office in years. He can't even decide if he wants to run or not. That's just weird. Who controls this guy? Beto uses the nickname Beto, seeking approval of the Hispanic community. He knows he can't run as Robert Francis O'Rourke, just another rich white kid. And I'm far from the only person that thinks this. Now, when you go to his site, top center, the most important thing that they're concerned with is showing you how to donate. Check this out about mass shootings. Beto doesn't know how he'd secure the border if it's more open, and a main reason for the mass shootings is mental illness. A contributor is immigrants who don't buy into insurance, much less health and mental insurance. Many feel as if they don't have the funds. Some of these guys are barely making ends meet. And Beto's plans would admittedly raise taxes. Recall how Biden called for open borders and then tried to slam the door shut. Another critical factor in mass shootings is our cultural and societal issues. We are addicted to porn, we're addicted to social media, and our streets are flooded with meth, marijuana, moonshine, fentanyl, prescription pharmaceuticals, you name it. We have mental issues. Open border and no guns is not going to solve this. This is putting the cart before the horse. Getting straight specifically to the buyback issue. In Texas in 2021 alone, there were over 1 million firearms sold. While all these certainly were not assault weapons, over the last 40 years or so, I'd say there are at least 750,000 assault weapons owners in Texas. Texas does not have a firearms registration. Beto had previously stated that he will be relying on people to voluntarily turn in these multi-thousand-dollar sporting hobby and self-defense products. If this does not happen, and I assess it likely will not happen, and even if it partially did, this has been attempted before, and it not only failed, but when the ban expired, sales of assault weapons skyrocketed. All these weapons are not the same price. A Mac 90 that is the civilian semi-automatic version of an AK-47 can go for as low as $190. Now compare that to somebody's tricked out Noveske AR-15, which can be maybe $3,500. Has Beto told you any details of how much money he's going to offer? Is it going to be standardized, or can I come in with an AR-15 that costs $5,000 and say, hey, want $5,000? What they're going to have to do, because Texas doesn't have a registration, is they're going to have to rely on the ATF records, the background check form. So they're going to have to research that and cross-reference it against LexisNexis or Clear for the original owner's most current residence. Then they're going to have to develop a targeting package for basically a subpoena. It's going to take a law enforcement team of probably at least 50 agents and analysts years to do this. They may be able to do maybe 20 a day. At 750,000 possible assault weapons owners out there, you do the math. At 20 weapons a day that they're possibly able to recover, how long is that going to take? And something that Beto is not telling you is that this is a midterm. Republicans Dan Crenshaw and Ted Cruz are not up for election. So he's going to have to try to pass his bills with Republicans in office. How's he going to do this? Sorry, brothers and sisters. Beto is like all politicians, but Beto is too wishy-washy. He doesn't have enough relevant recent leadership experience, and he's going to be facing too much opposition. He's not going to be able to get any traction for at least 2 years. Nothing that he's talking about is going to come to fruition anytime soon. He would have to be in office for decades for anybody to see anything. There's not going to be any tangible measure of difference that or success that anybody's going to be able to record. Oh, and by the way, all the TikTok accounts that are supposedly supportive of him look like this. So I'm going to be disabling comments on this video, so 20 or 30% of these troll type accounts can't come in here and basically say, oh, Beto,